Hi, good afternoon, and you're welcome to the Premier League Preview Show right here on Citi TV. We are live on Facebook this and every Wednesday up until the season ends. And even when the season is over, we'll still be here to talk football. My name is Nathan Kwa. Today I'm Mr. Black. I've got the other Mr. Black, Benjamin Nketiah. I mean, it's all black day.
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, a coincidence, but of course it's good to be here.
Well, they say great minds think alike. But
exactly.
Let's just start off at Old Trafford. So Man United picked up the EPL Cup over the weekend. Now they are back to Premier League duty. They take on the AFC Bournemouth. Yeah. Now this game was the first game of the season. United won on the South Coast. Now they are welcoming Bournemouth to Old Trafford.
Well, I mean, in the corresponding fixture last season, Bournemouth actually won this game by 2-1. I mean, if you know AFC Bournemouth from what they've done since they've been in the league so far, 14th place finish, or I think a 16th place finish last season is what they are looking to better this time around. They've been a bit erratic for me with regards to consistency in their lineups for games. They make as many as 5-6 changes in the space of sometimes 2-3 games, and I think that it's hurt their consistency a bit. But on the other side, they are a great team to watch. And my biggest takeaway from Bournemouth is that it's extremely difficult to map out a strategy for them as an opponent coach, because it's a team without star players, really. It's a team that depends on more teamwork, where the star quality will come out of anywhere. It could come out of anywhere. There is always a bit of star quality whenever Bournemouth have won games. But who is it going to come from is what you always keep guessing as an opposing manager. And for me, I think that that's Eddie Howe's biggest weapon going into a game against a team that is coming just off its first major silverware for the season. So,
I mean, how do Bournemouth deal with United at Old Trafford? United have played very well at home in recent weeks. Bournemouth went to Everton. They were torn apart. They lost by 6-3. And their problems on the road is very evident. How do they keep United from causing further damage to their campaign, which seems to take a hit when they travel and which seems to be okay when they play at home?
Well, I don't think that they can necessarily stop United from causing damage. I think what they can do is possibly look to play their own game and get some goals. Remember that for a team like Bournemouth, going to Old Trafford, a draw will be enough. They are not necessarily looking to win. And Bournemouth have shown that even in matches where they've conceded a lot of goals, they can score a lot of goals as a team as well. Game ends 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, and it's in favour of Bournemouth. I mean, United are the ones seeking to crack that elusive top four. And a win actually, depending on how results go in other games, does take them above Arsenal. So, I mean, it's a finely balanced game where Bournemouth will be hoping to take something positive, not necessarily a victory, but something positive away from this game. United will be hoping that they can build on that game or that cup final against Southampton and perhaps look to break into that elusive top four. But, I mean, there are a lot of fine points to this United season. I believe that the defense of United, like many have mentioned, has not necessarily been foolproof. Because, look, you look at guys like Chris Smalling, and again, we saw
in the
what sort of player he can be.
He was absolutely awful.
I did say that I have been impressed with Chris Smalling, but a friend of mine tapped me on the shoulder and said, look, the Chris Smalling we saw against Southampton is the real Chris Smalling. The one we saw against Louis van Gaal was a Chris Smalling who was playing above himself because he had met a manager who was bent on keeping it solid at the back
as well. So
exactly.
So Man United will hope to get a good result. And the talk has been about Zlatan Ibrahimovic, longevity. Is he staying? Is he going? I've listened to Juan Mata, who believes that United are on the right path. So maybe they'll try and get a win against Bournemouth and see what happens. But the other game which tickles their fancy is the Championship's biggest round, this biggest game. I mean, in terms of this round, it's Liverpool welcoming Arsenal. And for Arsenal, they've not played a game in a while. Liverpool were in a Monday night war at the King Power and they lost by 3-1. Now they get back to Anfield and they're going to a game they like playing so much against Arsenal. They've won this game 5-1 before. Last year ended 3-3. It was a very weird game last season. But what kind of Liverpool are we going to see? And what kind of Arsenal will show up once they've not played a game in weeks?
Well, for Liverpool, I think that they are at a very crucial point in their season where a lot has been revealed about the projects that started a season ago. I mean, now it's very clear who are the real contenders in that project, who are the pretenders in the project, the ones who need to be done away with in the project.
So there are players who Klopp needs to throw away.
I definitely think so. You look at Liverpool and where they've come this season, you look at the intensity that they had at the start of the season, it's not there anymore. And that's not premised mainly on players alone. Because, I mean, I've been doing a little digging, and it appears as if the Liverpool players struggled a lot with Jurgen Klopp's winter
his
workout.
Warm day workout, warm time workout.
Yeah, exactly. His winter workouts were very, very intense, and a lot of the players were left reeling after those workouts. They did take some form of vacation in Spain, and I was thinking that that was supposed to have rejuvenated the team and then given them the necessary spark they needed for the second round.
Like
It's not been like that so far, and it's been very, very disappointing. I mean, if you look at the sort of expectations that they had coming into the season, it's not been what you would expect at all. For me, I feel that a lot of the Liverpool players will need to ask themselves some very serious questions. Emre Can being number one on that list. He looked like he was heading for a rise at the start of the season. He hit a plateau, and it's been like that for the rest of the season.
What's gone wrong for the Liverpool midfield? Because Jordan Henderson didn't play against Leicester. Chan and Wijnaldum were bullied essentially by Ndidi and Danny Drinkwater. What exactly is wrong with the Liverpool midfield? Are they lacking an enforcer? What's the challenge with that midfield?
Exactly. Liverpool's midfield is nice. And
it's just too nice.
And you can't have a nice midfield and contend for laurels in the Premiership, not to talk about maybe even the top four. I mean, look at a player like Jorginho Wijnaldum. I've always said this, that if you had seen Wijnaldum in his formative years, you would always know that he was a player who is more, better placed to play in a more advanced role. Okay. He prefers to play in a role that has him playing as a supporting striker, playing as a creative guy, playing as a hook between the midfield and the attack. Better than trying to be the breakup guy, running down, chasing balls, intercepting and whatnot. So he doesn't have the strength. Is Klopp misusing him? I definitely think so. I definitely think that Jurgen Klopp, again, missed an opportunity. I have said it before. He missed an opportunity to bring James Milner, who I think is one of the few combative players in this Liverpool setup, into the team in the January transfer window when they had left backs available. Bringing a natural left back, move James Milner to a more natural position. Now, it looks as if they are going to contend with recurrent injuries to Jordan Henderson in that midfield. And he happens to be one of the only players with a little heart in that Liverpool midfield. So now, it's a bit shaky for Jurgen Klopp because he needs to evaluate some of his players. Roberto Firmino, classic example.
He's surprisingly gone cold in the last 3 to 4 months. And it's odd how he's dried up. And the goals aren't coming in, the influence is no more there. You thought that after Coutinho got injured and Sadio
he was going to be the one running with the
main man.
And what makes me even mad about Firmino's drop-off is the fact that, look, he's never been the guy I've looked at in terms of only goals. When he's not contributing on the goal-scoring side, he finds ways to create. He finds ways to track back, win, lose balls that eventually end up as goals. It's all gone from him. He looks exhausted. He looks frustrated. He looks like he needs some form of inspiration from somewhere. And that's where I think that Jurgen Klopp needs to be asked some questions. I saw his poster on the touchline against Leicester City. And there were times where he was asking his players, what are you doing? Well, my question to him is, what are you telling them to do? Because, look, they've been doing the same things since the start of the season. It's not working. You need to alter your season. And I think that good teams are the ones that manage to find a balance between doing what was right at a certain point and doing what hasn't worked for them. I mean, you need to be able to strike a balance where you're able to switch up things and able to spice up things to meet the expectations of what your opponents are throwing at you. For me, Liverpool set out a blueprint that looked good in the first 10 matches. They were figured out, their energy levels have dropped. They've not managed to turn the situation around since. And I feel that the earlier Jurgen Klopp finds out who the major culprits in his team are, does away with them and brings him new flesh or new influence, the better it will be for them.
Well, Liverpool would look at Arsenal and say that Arsenal were in our position 2 days or 3, 4, 5 days ago. Because Arsenal are on a sort of a break. They head into this game, they travel to Anfield, and Liverpool would want to respond. How can Arsenal walk through that tie and come out unscathed? Because it has been a very uncomfortable game for them in the last few seasons, especially at Anfield.
Well, Arsenal won't walk through that tie unscathed because, like we always say, Liverpool always needed motivation to play. And they lost that game against Leicester to do with an abysmal performance. That performance was terrible, Nathan. I saw the first 10 minutes of the game. I did say that I convinced myself to watch an extra 20 minutes.
Just didn't go well.
It just didn't go well for me. I had to get up at the point, take a break of some sorts, came back, and at that point they were losing badly. I feel that that's just the sort of reminder they needed going into a game like Arsenal. And we've all seen Liverpool. They've taken the most points from all the teams in the top 6, but then again, can't seem to navigate it against the smaller sides. This is the type of match they need to be able to get something going. And I know that for Liverpool, that matchup between Sadio Mane on the right-hand side and either Nacho Monreal or Kieran Gibbs on the left-hand side will be very, very essential. I've seen Kieran Gibbs thrown into the deep end in very big matches, and it's not come out well. A clear example, the Champions League fixture against Bayern Munich.
That certainly didn't work.
It was not pleasant. And you come up against a player like Mane, very tricky, fast-paced, he can expose you. And honestly,
and Gibbs, very relentless.
Exactly. And Gibbs is a very one-footed type of player. Mane likes to pull his players this way and that way. Look, it will be key because Liverpool will be looking to exploit opportunities inside the box, meaning that when they get bodies in the box, they'll be looking to spend as much time as possible on the ball, look to draw free kicks, look to draw fouls and whatnot inside the box. Arsenal will have to be cautious because one, they are a team with possibly the softest underbelly in the top 6. As things stand now, they are the team with the most uncertain clouds hanging over their head. Arsene Wenger doesn't know if he's going or staying. Mesut Ozil, Alexis Sanchez, Hector Bellerin, all those guys might follow him out the door if he goes. So Arsenal are in a very delicate position. And the worst thing for them is to come into a game like this mentally unstable and having to catch Liverpool at a time where they feel embarrassed by a performance they put out and want to put it right. It might not go well. So
for Arsenal, let's see how they fared. 3-4 seasons ago, or under Brendan Rodgers, they lost this game by 5-1. I remember last season they drew 3-3. It was an Olivier Giroud show. Versus Roberto Firmino were the main scorers. What will happen? Arsenal travel to Anfield. That's our biggest game of the round, and it's on Saturday. But you're still watching the Premier League Preview Show right here on Citi TV. We are live on Facebook. So grab all your friends, put them together, drop your comments. I'll be going through them a little later. But then let's switch attention. Let's get to London. And Tottenham Hotspur, after beating Stoke convincingly last week, take on Everton. A huge upgrade on Stoke. But a team whose travels have been very inconsistent. Today they are getting draws here. Tomorrow they are losing heavily on the road. What test will Spurs have on their hands when Everton and Romelu Lukaku, who's on 17 goals, come calling on Sunday? Well, it's interesting because Harry Kane has now scored a hat-trick in his last game and supplied an assist. And I feel that he's also one of those guys who reacts especially to playing in big matches. He's key to that setup, but I think that the wizard in that team is Christian Eriksen. He's the guy who makes this happen. Every time I've heard you say this, he's the guy who makes this happen. There's a part of me that disagrees, but there's a part of me that agrees. You see, because if I take a detached look, if I step away from Spurs and I look at them critically, Eriksen does make them tick. Maybe I'm expecting too much from him. Maybe I feel he needs to score more, but he tops the assist chance. He's got about 10 assists this season. That clearly underlines his quality as a player. Scored 5 goals to boot as well, so he's not doing too badly on the goal scoring side. What I think is that a lot of us expected Christian Eriksen to possibly be a Ballon d'Or contender at this point in his career, just because of how brainy and cerebral he is as a footballer. But I think that he's concentrated his efforts more on sometimes being the assist behind the assist instead of being the man directly pulling the strings. But even I have seen him in a different light this season. I mean, I felt that he wasn't contributing enough last season. This season, he's had a more direct telling effect on what Tottenham Hotspur have done, and I'm happy to be able to say that he's been in the thick of affairs in matches where he's been required, and in matches where they have lost, I have loved his responses. He says that we do not play well enough sometimes, we don't have the right type of intensity, our heads are not in the right place. And if you're a manager, that's the type of player you want. A player who can motivate himself and in turn motivate the rest of his teammates as well. I just think that Everton versus Tottenham in a lot of ways is a game of equals. Both teams have players that I think are swappable or could fit into either side. So I feel that it will be a match where both teams will be feeling confident about. Everton have chalked quite some success. I mean, if you see where they are now, you listen to Ronald Koeman, he's advising his side to possibly gear up and motivate themselves for a late top 4 push. You can just tell how ambitious this Everton side is. It doesn't matter to them that they are playing the Tottenham Hotspur or a Manchester City. The biggest bit for them is the fact that they come up against a team they consider equals and they think
very capable
What
of
should be
beating.
Koeman's plan? Should he go to White Hart Lane, sit deep, play on the break, or he should fancy his chances and go toe-to-toe with Spurs, who have got the best record at home in the Premier League now?
Well, it's very funny how Tottenham Hotspur play, because they don't necessarily sit back, but they own the best defense in the league. They don't necessarily go all out in attack, but they own one of the best attacks in the league. So for me, I think that it's balanced, and it's also picking your moments really for Everton. It's not about sitting back and defend. I don't think that Everton necessarily have the men to execute that type of system or that type of tactic in a game. What I feel is that they are better off going on and matching Tottenham boot for boot, because it's going to be an open and feisty attacking match. So that's what they should do, right on the momentum of the game, and see what your finishers can get for you.
Who wins the shootout of the two strikers, Kane versus Lukaku?
That's interesting. That's interesting for me. I think if Tottenham get their act together and they get their key players involved in this game, Harry Kane should be the man smiling.
All right, well, we'll see. So Spurs take on Everton. It should be a fantastic game, because like we've established, the two teams like to play great football. They've got good young players. So there's Joshua Winks and others, Dele Alli and others on the Spurs side. There's Ademola Lookman, who's settled, and I've been fascinated by his adaptation. Of course, after scoring against City, he hasn't scored again. But Mr. Koeman is very willing to give him and Tom Davis and Holgate the opportunity to go and play and learn and enjoy themselves.
No, Ronald Koeman doesn't give a lot of youngsters opportunities.
Yeah.
So if he does give you an opportunity, you know that the person or the player in question is a genuine talent. And I've seen Ademola Lookman. And look, it's the confidence about him. It's his willingness to run after balls and his willingness to get involved in the action. I think that managers revel in playing or including such players just because of the passion they bring to the game. Sometimes all you need to turn a match around is a bit of passion play. An interception here or an interception there could really be the momentum spark you need to turn the game around.
So we'll say it will be a fantastic game in North London. It's the second straight home game for Spurs. Last week they thumped Stoke. Let's see what will happen when they take on the Toffees of Everton on Sunday. Let me go through a few of the comments, and then maybe Ben, would want to throw in a thing or two. This one, Abdul Wadad says, I doubt if Arsenal can make it to the top 4 this season. Ibrahim Eliasu says, we will beat United again and again. Chris Chavez says, Liverpool peaked too early. Chelsea for the trophy. This one, somebody's wondering if United are in form. Gijo Day says, Liverpool bad season has been a result of our coach. He keeps changing a winning team, always experimenting, but all things being equal, will still make the top 4. Adam Dekenny says, Liverpool taking points and giving them to the poor. Abdul Wadad, okay. Ibrahim Eliasu says, all right, okay. So send us your comments. I have very interesting comments. Some of it are really based on very technical things. We will answer them later. But Ben, you've mentioned Jurgen Klopp's inconsistency, and somebody's mentioned it in the comments that Klopp keeps messing with the experiments, and that's why the results aren't coming. So we'll see how that happens, or how that plays out against Arsenal. But our final game is an interesting one. It's West Ham taking on Chelsea. West Ham won the first game at the London Stadium in the EFL Cup. They knocked out Chelsea out of that tournament. But things have changed since then. Chelsea have gone on to dominate. West Ham have gone left, right, all over the place. Now they welcome Chelsea back. Last week, West Ham plucked 1 point against Watford. Chelsea got all 3 at home against Swansea.
Well, they'll have to be at their absolute best to prevent a thrashing, not to get a result. They'll have to be at their absolute best. But West Ham have been
woeful. Some of these big games, they lost to Man United, lost to City.
Exactly my point. And it's a tale of two contrasting teams, because on one side you have Chelsea, who have become a symbol of consistency in the league as far as player personnel and selection is concerned. As far as tactics are concerned, they've been very, very consistent. You can practically wake up and name the Chelsea starting 11 for a game, provided all those players are fit and ready to play. It's not been the same for West Ham United, who have continuously changed players. They are continuously looking out for their best player this season. In fact, there's no West Ham player who can put his hand up and say that he's provided that spark that they require this season, and that will be the problem. Defensive organization, it's not there. It's just not been there from last season. It's just not been there this season as well. I'm asking myself again, where will West Ham find the defensive discipline to find to stop this Chelsea setup. Look, if you saw Chelsea in that last game that they played, they were all over Swansea.
At 1-1, it was inevitable they were going to get
and Swansea under Paul Clement have been very decent defensively. They've been very decent at the back. They've looked organized. They've prevented teams from coming in and getting big goals. But Chelsea just took it to a different level where the player movement from the Chelsea midfield up from the wing backs to the attack is almost very, very difficult to keep up with. You have about 4 or 5 players moving in different angles and different circles around you. Eden Hazard is doing very well, and the kind of form he is in right now kind of reminds me of his very first month in Chelsea.
Okay.
He enters the box with some form of audacity, and I think that comes from having a daylight lead at the top of the table.
Defenders hate that when you're running at them at pace, getting into the box, because they've got no option. The only option is to bring you down.
Exactly.
That's a penalty. And penalties 9 times out of 10 will be scored.
Exactly. And with a player as crafty as he is, he gets in the penalty and gets comfortable. I think that for that lesson that I've been trying to preach, players need to watch Eden Hazard. He acts like the penalty box is his home. When he's in the penalty box, he takes his time, he takes his dribbles, he tries to bring his teammates into play. He's not panicky, he's not in a hurry. He knows that any touch of any sort will result in a penalty for him. Worst case scenario, he will be booked for simulation. So for me, I think that Eden Hazard is the key to unlocking West Ham United. If they can keep him out of the loop, they possibly stand a chance of blunting that Chelsea attack. If not, they will run amok.
Well, you talk about Chelsea, and the breaking news coming in is that Victor Moses, he's signed an extension at Stamford Bridge, and he's there up until 2021. So they have Victor Moses. It's been an outstanding revelation for them this season. And you got to credit Antonio Conte. He took the chance on him, kept him in the team, kept him through preseason, and Victor Moses is delivering. But for West Ham, and the topic of West Ham leaves me really bewildered. First of all, you've mentioned the fact that they need to be at their best, but how come it's the same defensive line that stopped teams from scoring can't seem to stop anything? Because against West Brom, they gave up an equalizer. Against Watford last week was poor defending that led to a penalty by Troy Deeney. What's wrong with West Ham?
Well, practically, I think that you can say that Aaron Cresswell was the star man of West Ham's defense last season. He was getting in assists. I think he was third in assists in the Premier League from the fullback position.
He was scoring goals.
He was scoring goals as well. I mean, his leadership sort of rubbed off the team in a very good way. This season, he's been sent off a couple of times. He's been injured a couple of times. And it's just a depiction of the West Ham picture in
Jose Fonte, a player who was already in motion.
So
how come he's struggling?
Well, he's had to adapt because he's moved from a new side to West Ham United. He's not necessarily been playing in the same consistency. Like I've been telling you, Slaven Bilic in the attempt to salvage something for his team this season has resulted to a 3-5-4, sometimes a 3-4,
3-4.
He's done
all kinds of shapes.
All kinds of formations. At least 5 formations already this season. I mean, defense is the most affected by changes in formation because then positioning and reading your opponents and reading the position of your own teammates becomes an issue. Now you have that issue to contend with. Lack of leadership in the defense, consistent chopping and changing by the manager. It doesn't help anybody. And again, I pitch it against what Chelsea are doing. And I tell you that Chelsea will be having a laugh when they walk into that stadium against West Ham over the weekend.
So that game is a Monday night. So it's interesting on Citi FM. We've had 3 Monday night games, 1 FA Cup game, 2 Premier League games. All of them have been fantastic. All of them have been great. Let's see if West Ham and Chelsea will sell us another outstanding fixture in terms of the Premier League right here on Citi 97.3. Let me go through a few of the messages. Jerry Odura Adai says the possibility of United moving to 5th is bright. Well, we'll see. Like Benjamin said, it depends on a lot of variables. Nyako Alfred says Hammers will beat Chelsea by 2-1. That's a huge one. Chris Chawe says, I love this program. Keep it up. Ben is asking why we are in black. Ben, it's all coincidence. Sheer coincidence. Nothing about it. Abdul Wadad says, Carroll will shock Chelsea. He's one guy who always shows up when playing against a big team. Or somebody is asking if, you're serious about Carroll. Arafat Safiano is asking, Carroll, you're a big joker. Gigi O'Day says, the best result for Chelsea is a drop. West Ham will put the brakes on them. They are very strong on the ball and will make use of their height. Liverpool knows how to win big game. So we'll see how that one plays out. It's been our preview. Benjamin, in case you joined me, the other Mr. Black. I'm the first Mr. Black. My name is Nathan Kwao. So this has been the Premier League Preview Show. We're always live on Facebook every Wednesday from 1 p.m. The games are live on Saturday. The biggest game of the round, like we've established, Liverpool versus Arsenal. Saturday at 5:30. Saturday at 12:30 is Man United versus Bournemouth. Monday night is the other big one. West Ham taking on Chelsea at the London Stadium. But just before we leave, Ben, player highlights. So the other day you spoke about Sadio Mane. This week, who are you focusing on?
Christian Eriksen, the wizard. I told you about him. He's a player who excites me generally because he goes about his work in a very quiet and a very cerebral manner. I mean, he's not your aggressive midfielder, and I think it's contributed to the criticism that has been leveled against him in the past. But now I think that he's beginning to find himself in the system that Mauricio Pochettino is playing in. Tottenham Hotspur go into this weekend second on the table, and it's on the back of his 10 assists and a couple of goals scattered here and there that he has actually been able to attain that point. Guess what? Ever since he arrived in the Premiership, no one else has scored more free kicks from outside or from outfield situations. Yes, from dead ball situations. He is the dead ball supreme in the Premiership as things stand now. And of course, that provides you with the ability to be able to change matches in an instant. Matches where you're not doing well, matches where your rhythm is off. This guy can step up and instantly change the complexion of a game. He is the guy to look forward to when you are in a difficult situation. I think that a lot of what Tottenham will do this season hinges on him. He is the glue guy.
Now, we've seen Dele Alli play directly behind Harry Kane. Now, purists would say that's where Eriksen should be playing. But he being played out on the left, do you think that moving on, Pochettino should consider switching him, or he does enough work from that side? It doesn't matter where he plays.
Well, he's looked comfortable, and for large parts of this season, I think he's drifted around. I mean, he starts the game on the left-hand side. When Ali moves into his attacking positions, he in turn switches roles with him and then covers Ali's back. When Ali is in a defensive position, he finds the nuance to move into an attacking position. And I think it's all part of what makes him a great player. He understands the use of space. He understands the running off and on the ball of his teammates. He understands where his teammates need to be even before he delivers a pass. So for me, thriving in that floating role is what has done it for Christian Eriksen this season. And he looks to be enjoying his football. I think that that's what was missing from him in the first few seasons in the Premiership this season. Wherever he's stuck in that midfield, left, centre, right, it doesn't matter to him. He will deliver. So
Christian Eriksen, that's Benjamin Nketiah's Star Man of the Week. And he'll feature as Spurs take on Everton on Sunday. Let me go through, last batch of messages and then we'll be out of here. Abdul Wadat says, you need to be physically strong to beat Chelsea. They are physical, and I think United are very ready from that. Erasme Wisdom says, watching from South Australia, howdy. Hope you're having fun there. Thanks to you guys for the show. This one says United will win by 3-0 against Bournemouth. This one says Chelsea will win. Isaac Asante Popolampo says, wonderful thoughts and analysis. Keep it up. United will be in the top 4. Our final thought comes from Alfred Nyako. He says we'll be in the top 4 before the end of the season. Man United. That's the end of our preview show. Catch us next week, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Benjamin will be back. I will be back. But join us this weekend for the game starting Saturday, 12:30. We ride all the way till Monday at about 10 p.m. when the result will be known between West Ham and Chelsea. Enjoy.